following is a story from John Bennett's Doctor of the Dead, Grotesque Tales of Charleston, and it's called Death and Two Bachelors. One night, about the middle of August, Walter and I were sitting talking together in the moonlight. And he said meditatively, George Edmonds is dead, that big strong man, dead and buried. And here we are. It's surely a drolling how the weak and sickly men outlive the strong ones, but 'tis so they do. After a moment's meditation on the singularity of death, he told me the following parable. There were two bachelors who lived together. One was a big and strong and able man. The other was puny and weak. He didn't know a well day. The fever had worn him down so. He was so full of pain and unrest that he couldn't sleep at night, but moaned and groaned and wished he was dead. The strong man had compassion on him for a long time, but after a while he grew tired of the complaining by day and night. That night, the puny man was very restless. He turned and he twisted. He couldn't find no peace from his misery, and he said, "Oh, I wish I was dead." The strong man woke with all the groaning and moaning and said to the puny one, "You wish you were dead? Then why in the name of God don't you just be done with it, and instead of all this breaking up my sleeping and disturbing me? Why don't you call on death to come and get you and be done with all this worry?" The weak man said, all right, I'll call him. I don't want to live much anyway. So he went to the door and said, "Death, oh death," but his voice was very weak. Death was way down yonder at the crossroads, sitting on the stump waiting to hail. But he couldn't hear the weak man when the weak man said it because it was so feeble and puny. The two bachelors sat and listened, but Death made no answer. The strong man said to the puny one, "He didn't hear you holler, so holler again, and holler loud." So the puny man hollered again, "Death, oh death," but his voice was still weak and small. "Pshaw," said the strong man, "that is no way to call death. You don't holler louder than a busted cockroach. Let somebody holler who can holler as loud as they can." With that, the strong man went up to the door and hollered loud and bold at the top of his voice, "Death! Oh, death!" And before he could turn around or say oomph, something dark and droll clamped a heavy hand on his shoulder. The strong man turned and says, "Who are you? What do you want?" "I am Death," said the something droll. "You called me, and I came." Well, with that, Death took the strong man and left the weak and puny one sitting on his bed. And that's the end of the story. I definitely think this is one of those you should learn when to leave well enough alone, because if I were the big and strong man, I would have just let the weak man continue to sit there and kind of yell for death. He would have heard him eventually. And if not, I wasn't going to call his name. That's just asking for trouble. Let me know what y'all think about this story in the comments.